So the next job on the refurbishment trail is to replace the screen. Now there is actually nothing wrong with this screen. The issue I have with it is there's no backlight to it, and therefore it's difficult to see in low light. And I quite often play this at night, so I want to change it to a different screen that's easier to see. So what I've done is I've bought a blue screen, which is this one here, which should fit in to that slot, says I. And this is how we're going to do it. So the first thing to do is get inside. Just to save time, I've already taken the 3 screws at the bottom out so we can get inside, and I'm just going to hook these up with a stand at the edge. Like so. Right. Now, from previous experience, the display is there, and there are 2 screws hooking my display in. However, the interesting part about this is actually getting at the cable. Now, as you can see, the cable runs down to the edge of the board here and disappears underneath the motherboard and plugs into the motherboard underneath, which of course necessitates I've got to take the motherboard out in order to get that cable out. Now obviously the motherboard is attached to the memory board, and I also have to take the memory board out as well. Now I've already started the process. I've already taken a load of screws out. There are 2 screws there, 2 screws here which also hold the cable. There's another screw there. At the back of the board we have 3 screws around the card reader, and then on the far side of the board we have another 2 screws here. As you can see, that one's out as well, which secure the board. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shut the video off. I'm actually going to unscrew those screws, and so we can get the board up so we can actually liberate that cable. Okay, so now the board is out. We need to take the screen out. So the first thing to do here is, as I said, is to get the ribbon connector out, which is this one here. It should just pop out. It's just finger tight. Once the ribbon connector is out, we can just roll the board back that way out of the way, because I need to dispatch the earthing cable, which is held in with a small screwdriver. Okay, so the earthing cable is under here. It's just a tag. So if I just do that screw, it's a bit out of a screenshot, so you won't be able to see this. That's the cable removed. And then, okay, so my screen has 2 screws that hold it in. I think it should have had 4 screws that hold it in, but there are only 2 that have survived. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo this screw here. I'm just going to loosen this one off. It's already a bit loose. Just like that. And just carry on undoing this one. Like so. Take that screw out. Put it somewhere safe. And then out comes the screen. Just put that to one side. Now this is my new screen here, which I'm going to put in. Before I do so, I just need to remove the protective plastic. If I can get my fingers underneath it. There we go. So there you go, the protective plastic just peels off. And then, looking at the back of this, it doesn't tell me which way it goes up. So let's have a look at the old screen. The old screen was up and the ribbon connector was that way around. Okay, so the old screen looked like that. Ribbon connector on the right hand side. So we take the same pattern with the new screen, ribbon connectors on the right hand side, and we'll slot that in like so. Actually, there's something, let's have a look. Why is that not fitting flush? That is. It's one of those jobs where you need half a dozen fingers. Right, so that's now in. Tighten the screws on one side and tighten the screws on the other. Does that look flush? Does. Wonderful. Just gonna do that. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is reconnect so I've just turned the motherboard over. Let's put this back onto the motherboard like so. And then this ribbon connector here goes into, should go into that slot there. That's the new display installed. Now, I'm now going to turn the motherboard back over. I'm going to reconnect or unscrew it in, partially screw it in, so I can test whether the screen boots up. So with the motherboard now partially secured back in place, the acid test is whether the new screen works. Let's see what happens. Okay, so here's the acid test. The acid test is, does the new screen come online? The answer to that is yes, but it needs some tweaking. So there is a contrast diode that comes with the new screen, which I'll just bring outside, and then until the contrast is exactly where it needs to be. Wonderful. Job done. I've been told it helps the channel out greatly if you hit the like button if you enjoyed the contents of this video. If you want to be notified about future videos that may be made for the channel, please hit the subscribe button.